Hi, I'm Mike, owner of the In Groove in Phoenix, Arizona. Today I'm going to review the new Rhino High Fidelity Television Marquee Moon reissue. I'm going to talk about this particular record, but I'm also going to talk about the 3 other copies of this album that I own. So I will talk about the sound differences, compare the 4 of these together, and then at the end of the video I'm actually going to talk a little bit about my experience so far with the Rhino High Fidelity series. I've bought in every single title, all more than once, and I will give you my take on the series thus far. But I want to start out with the original. First pressing, real clean copy in the shrink. Musically, a fantastic record. Sonically, this is a really crummy sounding record. I have always thought this is a really crummy sounding record. This record is very shrill. Very shrill is an understatement. This is one of those records that you want to turn down. Some records are, you turn them up, and the more you turn them up, the better they sound and the more they rock out. This is the exact opposite. This is like if you were to have your child left alone in the room and they were to play around with your 16-band graphic equalizer and they were making shapes out of the equalizer. You would walk in one day to your sound room and your kid would have, you know, put a bunch of faders up and a bunch down, and this is what you would be left with. The original first pressing sound of Marquee Moon. Now, a lot of people will say, this is what the artist intended. This is the way it should be. I personally don't subscribe to that form of thinking. Artists are a unique individual. I've met a few. I've talked to a few. You know, an artist is talented. They make music. They have a vision. I don't subscribe to the fact that after they write the music, they should really have much of a part in it. And I'll give you an example. If you look at the latest Led Zeppelin reissues that Jimmy Page had a big hand in. Jimmy Page said they're the best they're ever going to sound. These are the best. These are the ones you need. You don't need any other versions of Led Zeppelin record because these are the definitive ones. Well, guess what? They're not. The new reissues that are out are not the definitive ones. They're not the ones the market wants. The market has anointed other copies of Led Zeppelin records the definitive sounding ones. And you can tell that by the price. You've got Robert Ludwig Led Zeppelin 2s that go for thousands of dollars. You've got classic records pressings of Led Zeppelin records that are $300, $400, $500, $600. The market has kind of spoken and told Jimmy that he was wrong as far as that goes. He's still, like, you know, a guitar god. We're not talking about that. But when it comes to the presentation of his particular albums, other people did it better. And I subscribe to the fact with this particular record that it is shrill and it does not sound very good, but musically fantastic. This might have been good, though, come to think about it, if I was, you know, driving around in my 70s Chevette with an 8-track blaring. Maybe that wonky EQ might have been beneficial for this particular record, but not good. I don't like it. It is not good. And it's expensive. A real clean copy of this record is like a $100 bill. This is a time you're going to catch me doing one of my rare exceptions, and that is, I'll talk about this Japanese pressing. So this Japanese pressing, Japanese records, in my opinion, are known for being bright. They've kind of addressed that particular weird EQ curve a little bit by dialing the bass up a smidge and the treble down a smidge. But it's still not very good. It's still an issue with this particular record. But I do care for this a little bit more than I care for the original. But neither of them are great. I wouldn't tell you you need to purchase either of these. They're both just not that good. Yeah, I just, you know, sometimes you want to get into the heads of some of these musicians, mastering engineers, recording engineers, and you wonder what the vibe is and what the thinking was. On this particular record, we're probably never going to know. But in my opinion, not really a fan of what they put down on wax there. Okay, then we move to the O's. Rhino did a 180 gram reissue, And if you look at here, this is an old price tag of mine. That was $25. $25 price tag. This is all analog, cut from the original master tape, and this was done by Chris Bellman at Bernie Grundman Mastering. Manufactured with more care than ever. $25. So now what they did with this was radically different than the originals. Chris was probably listening to that master tape, and my guess, although I don't know, maybe somebody could ask him. He probably put that tape on the deck, thought to himself, "Holy cow, this record has no bass in it. It's all high end. Let me fix that a little bit and make this a little bit more listenable." And that's what he did, because this, I'm not going to say is a fantastic sounding record, because this record is not recorded, I don't think, in a way that is fantastic. It's a unique situation because all the right guys, all the right mastering engineers were involved in this particular record, but it's not really a sonic marvel in any form. But this is the most listenable copy up to this point that I've ever owned of this record. Now, I think a lot of people would say as well, it's television. It's not kind of blue. It doesn't need to be wildly hi-fi. It's like the equivalent of, do you need a really hi-fi White Stripes record? Do you need a hi-fi television record? I think it goes along that same vein. It was never a record that was recorded to be hi-fi. Much like the White Stripes. It's kind of, the White Stripes I view as kind of almost a lo-fi band. It was never, not quite lo-fi, because lo-fi is real lo-fi, but it's kind of in that vein. It was recorded in a way that was, audio fidelity, I don't think, was at the forefront of those early White Stripe records. And I don't know if I would say that it was when it came to these television records as well. But this Chris Bellman cut did the most to address some of the shortcomings of the original. And I, after owning this record, never listened to that original again. And it's kind of funny because until this Rhino high fidelity version came out, I kind of forgot what the original sounded like. Then I saw people talking, out there, and I thought to myself, maybe I make this review, maybe I don't. And I'll tell you why I've been putting off making these Rhino hi-fi reviews in a minute. We'll save that, because the rant's going to happen. But I kind of forgot why I never listened to the other, I kind of in my head, in my collection, I've got so many of the same records. I know, like, this is the one I like, this is my go-to, this is the one I'm going to pull off the shelf. But as time goes on and I stop listening to the other copies, I kind of lose memory on why. Well, I was watching some other people online, I was reading some other reviews, and people were just like upset. Oh man, the artist's intentions are not being honored here. How dare the artist's intentions not be honored? And I'm like, man, what the hell did they do to that record? Did Kevin butcher the new Rhino hi-fi? Let me see what's going on here. So let me put it on. Let me listen to it. Get out my original Minty television record and put it on the record and player, turn it up. And I have like a normal position of volume on my, everybody has a volume that they like to start on, right? Mine is 48. It's an arbitrary number. Everybody's system's different. But on my system, Big Wilsons, Big Thor's hammers, 48 is kind of a good listening position for me. And sometimes it has to go down to like 42 to like 58 if I really want the studs to shake a little bit. But the first thing I noticed is, when that guitar starts clanging, if I had like a camera in my sound room, the face you would see would be like, ooh, like, and then this is me looking for the remote, like, I gotta turn this down. This is uncomfortable. And then I turn it down and it's like, okay, this is less uncomfortable. And then I turn it down and finally I turn it down so low you can just like barely hear it a little bit. And you're like, okay, this is the right amount of volume for this particular record. But then you think to yourself, well, no, I want to listen to it. Well, the original doesn't lend you to be able to do that. At least it doesn't on my system. Doesn't on the Wilsons. And I think I have a system that is a little bit forgiving with the upper end frequency. I got the VTL tube monoblock amps, monoblock amps. I've got the VTL preamp. I've got a tube phono stage. I would only imagine, I'm going to have to play around with this particular record at the store and put it on some more of my solid state, the more analytical equipment I have around the store. But I would venture to say it's going to just be piercingly mind-numbing. I just don't think I want to experience that. So Chris Bellman did us all a favor by making this fantastic, unbelievably good, in my opinion, television record sound so much more listenable. Okay, so here comes the Rhino High Fidelity. Now, the Rhino High Fidelity, there's just no comparison as far as quality goes. As far as the fit, the finish, the jacket, the vinyl, the whole 9 yards is, well, short of it being pressed at optimal. Actually, I think where was this done? I have a feeling for this price, although possibly RTI. I have a feeling this might have been, I have a feeling this is an RTI pressing. So yeah, looks like this is an RTI pressing. I'd have to check it out online. No, maybe not. Made in the EU, so this is not an RTI pressing. So this is probably an optimal pressing. But this is, I think, made at a time when Optimal was a little less stressed out and overall was making better records. I think Optimal has kind of progressively made, Optimal and Palace, I think, are making lesser and lesser records as time goes on. More no-fill, more issues. You guys have probably experienced it anyways. But you look at this Rhino High Fidelity and oh man, the fit and the finish is absolutely fantastic. And how's the mastering sound? Limited to 5,000. How does the mastering sound? Well, it's actually quite similar to what Chris Bellman did. So apparently Kevin, now he's come out and said this, but I would imagine, of course I didn't watch the interview where he did say this, but I would imagine he put the tape on and he said the same thing Chris said. It's, holy cow, we need to fix this. Let's turn down the treble a little bit and let's turn up the bass a little bit and try to balance this record out a little more. And that's what he did. And it is fantastic sounding, as is the Chris Bellman cut. Now, if you have the Chris Bellman cut, do you need to rush out and spend $40 on this record? Actually, I don't think so. Although this is really good and maybe even slightly better, it is marginally better. One thing I'll notice, my initial reaction is I'm pretty sure the Chris Bellman is cut a little bit hotter. The Kevin Gray needed to turn up a little bit more, which is nice because when I was turning it up, I didn't start squinting. You know, my fillings didn't start hurting. I didn't, frantically start looking for the remote. I mean, of course it was in my hand because I was turning it up, but and none of that stuff happened. It became more enjoyable because I like loud music and I like it to be room filling and not ear piercing and painful to listen to. And that's what this was. So, I mean, this will be the copy I go to from now on. It's just it has a little bit more clarity, I think, than the Chris Bellman cut. I think it's a little bit more even keel. And I think it has a little bit more clarity. This is fantastic. So let me talk about Rhino High Fidelity thus far, in my experience with the Rhino High Fidelity. I haven't had no contact with them. I've purchased every one of my records from them. And this is including this one. So this is one of the best presentations on the market. This is the level of like look at that big, thick cover. This is the presentation of a UHQR minus the outer box. But what you get on the inner box, the super thick, heavy jacket, all analog Kevin Gray cut, best mastering engineer I think making records today. All analog, just fit and finish, foil numbering, the whole 9 yards. They just do an absolute killer job with these. The Obi's on there, that's not necessary, but it's a nice little touch. And this drives me somewhat nuts because I like to keep the shrink on there, and I can never see my numbers because of that being on there. I guess I can slide it off a little bit. I'm curious. I didn't get any special number because I was just bought this like everybody else. Looks like I got 2,000. My copy is 2,316, right? But sonically, I've been very impressed with this. I'm so glad that this program exists. They have gone through all the effort in the world to make absolutely fantastic records. They hire the best mastering engineer. They're using the absolute best covers possible. They're pressing it at optimal, which is good, not the best. The best would be, like, in my opinion, on something like this, Sony Japan, QRP, RTI. I think those are the best. From me, in my experience, those are the 3 best pressing plants in the world that I've listened to records from. That would be the only thing I could say. But I really don't get the vibe in the production of making these records that there's been any shortchanging going on. That's on the making of the records. Now, what happens after they make the records? Well, they pass them off to somebody else to sell you the records. And that has been a fucking shit show. It's ridiculous. Oh my God. I had more hair up here. I had a couple of extra follicles. I pulled them out because of the incompetence of their ability to actually properly mail a record. Now, I wanted to make a video talking about this, and the reason I haven't done it is because everyone's going to say, well, Mike, you're upset because you can't sell them and you can't make money. No, I'm upset because I can't buy a record and get it to me in one piece. I will start with the Cars. I bought 6 copies of the Cars. I bought 3 copies of the John Coltrane. I ended up settling for the 2 smallest dings that I could get, and that's how I kept copies for myself. Then the second run, which was it? The Van Morrison and the Jaco Pastorius? Damaged. So then I thought to myself, well, let me just order a bunch of them, because maybe I can get them damage-free. I knew those particular titles. I felt they weren't going to sell out like the Cars. I felt the Cars was a special circumstance. I didn't think they were going to sell out. So what did I do? I reordered on the 2nd or 3rd or 4th batch, 5th batch. I ordered a bunch of them. I ordered more Ornette Colemans. I ordered more Van Morrisons, more Jaco Pastoriuses. I ordered the Doobie Brothers, which was the newer one at the time. I ordered them all together. I thought, well, I'm going to order a bunch of them, and then it's going to have to come in a different box, not the white mailer of death, not the new stupid box that they say, we fixed the problem. Our problem is fixed. So what did we do? We put 6 more grams worth of cardboard on the outer edge, and now our problem is fixed. Wrong. Your problem is not fixed. Your mailer is absolute shit. It is garbage. You're asking me, Mike, where's your damage on the Marquee Moon? Well, there it is. Can you see that? That big smashed corner right there? So this is Marquee Moon number 1. I'm assuming that if this doesn't sell out, I will try again. Why, I don't know. I'm like a glutton for punishment, but I feel a little bit relieved in the fact that I'm playing with the house's money, because luckily I was able to sell the first 5 damaged Cars records I bought for like $100 a piece because they went out of print. So that's making up for all these other defects, because when I get them, I'll put them in the shelf for $40, and then somebody will buy it because they don't want to wait for Rhino Hi-Fi, and it's there, so they buy it. But I'm so perplexed by their incompetence. They have no customer support whatsoever. I've sent 5, 6 emails. No customer support. I've never received an email back. Not one. Hey, damaged records. What can I do? Can I return this? Can I get a credit? Can I get something? Is there a way? What do I got to buy to make this not ship in this crappy mailer? If I buy 20 records, all kinds of emails. No response. Nothing. It's like goes into the ether or their spam box. Now they've come out and said, well, we've got only one customer service rep answering emails, and that's what he does all day. Well, since you guys don't know how to mail records, and you're incompetent at mailing records, that poor guy probably gets 4,000 emails a day. So of course he can't answer them all. So I feel bad for this guy because I answer emails. I know what it's like. It's like you are setting this guy up to fail. It's frustrating because I do not like to sell records that way, because I do not like to receive records that way. I want to own a beautiful set of these records, damaged and dent free, and I just don't know how to do it. Maybe somebody out there has a suggestion from me. I heard that the Canadians are getting good ones because they're using a different mailer for Rhino Canada. I've often thought to myself, well, if I want clean ones, maybe I just need to have them sent to a buddy of mine in Canada and then import them into the United States because maybe I can get clean ones that way. I mean, I know they ship out of California, which is 6 hours away from here, from where I'm at in Phoenix. But maybe if I do this Canada to Phoenix route, maybe I can get clean copies. I'm not 100% sure. Don't give me no crap about sour grapes. There's no sour grapes. It would be nice if they put these to a more mass market for a lot of reasons. It would open up, it would expand the customer base. More people would buy them. They would see this big luxurious record in the bin and they'd be like, ooh, this is nice. I'm going to buy this. Ooh, Jaco Pastorius, this isn't in print. Ooh, you know, I mean, that kind of thing would happen. More people would be able to bask in the wonderfulness of this. But also, I wouldn't have to deal with Rhino shipping. And I would be able to order a nice copy because it would be up to somebody else who has a little bit more experience with shipping records. So, yeah. Rhino, you make amazing, beautiful records. Look at this. It's a shame you're damaging them all because you don't know how to ship them. But I congratulate you on what you're doing on the front end. I mean, the packaging is unbelievable. And I'm so looking forward to what's in store for this particular series. So many great things could come of this. Look, we got notes, we got photographs, we've got master tape, picture boxes. I mean, you can't beat it. It is sonically fantastic. It's presented fantastic. But I don't know how to get damage-free copies, so that's my only gripe. Learn how to mail records, guys. You don't know what the hell you're doing. Hire somebody over there that can answer emails. Or stop setting up your customer service to fail and use a real shipping mailer. There's no sense in going through all this expense to make this wonderful, beautiful record just to mail it destroyed. Because there's nothing worse than having a wonderful, beautiful record mailed to you, see how wonderful and beautiful it is, and it be smashed up. And it's not just me. I don't have my phone with me, but my buddies all send me, oh, Rhino strikes again. I get the text messages every time a new Rhino high fidelity release is coming out. Oh, Mike, look at this. Ooh, 5-inch seam splits, smashed up boxes, bent corners. Hopefully I can get a hold of somebody. And I do know other people that have gotten a hold of Rhino. I'm just not one of them. So yeah, that is it. It's a winner though. If you don't mind a little bit of corner damage, or you happen to be in Canada and get the good mailer, boy, this record's spectacular. It really is. And yeah, Kevin Gray really knocked it out of the park with this one. But yeah, tell me what your guys' comments and experiences are in the comments below, under the video. All right, guys, check us out online at theingroove.com. Until next time.